get medication you get treated from the regional referral hospital in Masaka. So honorable colleagues, Masaka also has a mandate of providing specialized dental care, curative and preventive health services, medical training. It serves as one of the 15 among the 15 designated internship hospitals in Uganda. You will update us about the internship program that is in Masaka Regional Referral Hospital, and your capacity and how many interns can you recruit. You will update us on how you handle the interns in Masaka, and also to know whether the interns that come to Masaka Regional Referral Hospital pay fee. Is internship free or pay some money? They also have specific clinical services. These are maternal and neonatal, surgical. They have a specialized unit. They also have gender equity services. They address issues of mental health. So you will update us about the mental section of Masaka Regional Referral Hospital. They were complaining that they are very congested because the mental units in your referral hospitals are underutilized and don't serve the purpose. So you will also respond to these questions. You will update us about the budget of Masaka Regional Referral Hospital for the last 3 years, how much money have you been getting? Number 2, you will update us about the budget for drugs, specifically medicines, how much money do you get for supply of medicines, and what is the budget for supply of medicines. Honorable colleagues, Masaka Regional Referral Hospital started construction of a staff unit, staff quarters. You need to update us how far you've gone and when do you intend to complete that project. It was the project started in 2014, but because of continuity of that hospital till date, that structure is not yet complete. Masaka Regional Referral Hospital, like Ginger and I think Ginger, ABALARA, they have old structures. These are structures of 1947. The children's ward, the female ward, the administration block, maternity ward, surgical ward, these are as old as 1957, from 1948 to 57. Yes, we do appreciate the new constructions that we received. That is the OPD, that was in 2011, and we also have a theatre, newly constructed theatre. But you are going to update us on the capacity of your theatre. Capacity of your theatre, and also the ICU. The last time you appeared here, you had beds, there were 3 beds that were not utilized for the last 3 years. They were kept in
and lifestyle content, live streams, analysis. Leka ne comment yo wekumire ku APM Media TV fetusinga.
Also update us about the other oxygen plant that was supplied by the Ministry of Health that is not in use as of now. The last time I was there, it was old, it was not serviced, so you need to tell us. And also, honorable colleagues, we need to learn from them. Who does the servicing of the oxygen plants? Is it the Ministry of Health or the referral hospital? Honorable colleagues, Masaka Regional Referral Hospital has challenges of power outage. I'm telling you, we have lost lives in that hospital. You will update us of the consistency of your generator. I've had all my services acquired from Masaka Regional Referral, and I want to commend you, honorable colleagues. As I've always told you, I had a preterm baby of 6 months, 1 kg. So I went through the neonatal unit of Masaka Regional Referral Hospital. I want to commend you for that, but the neonate unit is very congested. The beds for the mothers, the caretakers, by that time I was there, we had 4 beds, we were very congested. So you need to update as much as I commend you. At least I never paid any coin during that time. I don't know whether others paid. By the time I was there, I did not pay much as others go and get medication from expensive hospitals, but I commend you for that. I don't know whether Dr. Kamgisha is still part of you. By that time it was Kamgisha and Dr. Florence. But please, we commend the entire team in the NUQ. But they are understaffed. The incubators are very few. And the room is simply too small. You find 10 babies in one incubator. So you need to update us about your issue. And honorable colleagues, to also take note that in the entire 1,000 Uganda region, we don't have a burns unit. Sometime back we had a challenge of where 8 children were banned from a sound school within Masaka, but we could not, the 8 died from Masaka Regional Referral. We did not have a burns unit, and the 2 were transferred to Kampala. Was it Kawempe or Chirudu? Will update us. I think it was Chirudu. Those survived. So we need a burns unit. I don't know, we didn't ask Mbarara whether they have, but once you get somebody burnt, automatically that person has to come to Chirudu. And you had the constraints that there is in Chirudu Hospital when it comes to the sector for the burns unit. Update us about the ambulances and also the fuel that you get for ambulances. Because normally when we come to Masaka, we always have to buy fuel to have an ambulance bring you to Kampala. Update us on the issues of the ambulances that you have in Masaka, and how many of those are operational. Also update us on the population that you serve, the planned population for Masaka Regional Referral Hospital. Then the management of the private wing. The private wing in Masaka Regional Referral Hospital, you go there are no doctors. The last time I was there, you have very, very old, when you go to the washrooms, when you get to the sink, most of them are non-functional. I don't know that the situation has changed, but people prefer, when you go to Masaka Regional Referral, you prefer to be in the general ward than going to the private. Because the private, you have old beds, the beds are old, so we wonder what makes it a private wing, and what is private in that hospital. Lastly, you will update us about your ICU. The ICU, much as I asked for the 3 beds, but what is the capacity of the ICU and the state of the ICU for Masaka Regional Referral Hospital? Aware that that hospital serves a population, you will tell us, but I know it is a very congested hospital. Thank you, Doctor. Honorable colleagues, if there is something to ask from this side, please do, then you respond. You will give us an update about the hospital and also make responses to the questions that I have raised. Thank you. Director, you can proceed. Doctor, before you come in, honorable colleagues, we have a very big challenge of corruption in Masaka Regional Referral Hospital. Much as Kawempe told us that a C-section is for free, but even in Masaka Regional Referral, we pay for normal delivery. So we want to know, sir, according to your chart, how much do you charge for a C-section and normal delivery in Masaka Regional Referral Hospital? The last time I was there, I had somebody who came from my constituency. She went to the theater. The baby died, but we had to pay 500,000 for the theater. So update us about the charges and what you are doing to fight the corruption that there is in Masaka Regional Referral Hospital. Thank you.
Chair, thank you for the observations. And I don't know whether I should go through the previous responses or I should first respond to you.
No, respond, give us a brief about the sector that you handle, your referral hospital, then give a brief on those what matters on it.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much, members, honorable members of this committee. Chair has asked so many things. I will also ask my colleagues, those who are directly linked to part of it, to answer. You started with the Chair, you started with the internship program. Yes, we have an internship program for medical officers. We have internship program for dental surgeons, and we have internship programs for nurses and midwives. Currently, we accommodate 15 interns, but we have 72 interns. That means the rest have to pay for their own accommodation. But we do not receive that money for accommodation. However, we...
Doctor, you have to be clear on that.
Yes.
You know, we are not part of that system. Who pays for the accommodation? Be clear on it. Be clear on the issue of interns.
Chair, interns accommodation, they cater for their own accommodation. However, we accommodate only 15 interns in our hostel, which is on the Bainese Terrace. Though the hostel is also under caveat, the land is being claimed by one of the former vice presidents. But we're in court, so I think we shall still get that accommodation. Chair, we also give interns food. We give them lunch, we give them breakfast. We really want them to operate within the minimal levels they can afford. Chair, we also pay them their allowances on time. Their allowances is 1 million shillings, no deductions for anything. They get it fully paid as 1 million shillings. Chair, you also asked about the mental health services in the hospital. Chair, yes, we have a mental health unit, but we do not have a psychiatrist. We only have a principal psychiatric clinic officer, and then we have psychiatric nurses. Most of our patients or clients, we refer them to ABALARA Hospital.
Chair.
Yes.
Chair. Just a small clarification, Doctor. Once again, my name is Patrick Insamba from Kasanda. The statement you made, which I just need a small clarity, you said you admit 15, but you have 72 interns. Now, should we assume that only the 15 are paid or all the 72?
Chair, in terms of payment for their emoluments, they are all the 72. Yes, Chair. The 15 I'm talking of are accommodated in our own hostel. Yes. Chair, you also brought up the issue of mental health. Yes, we have a mental health unit, except that we do not have a psychiatrist. We have submitted for recruitment of a psychiatrist, but we have principal clinical officers as well. The principal clinical officer who is a psychiatrist. We also have psychiatric nurses, and they're the ones who have handled our OPD cases and the few admissions we have, but most of them we refer to ABALARA Hospital. Chair, you asked about our budget for the last 3 years. Our budget has been a little bit stagnant with a very little increment because of wage. We have been getting 14 billion. The last financial year we got 14 billion, and the 8.8 billion is for wage. But when you add pensions and gratuity, it goes to 10.1 billion shillings. That means our recurrent is only about 3.2 billion shillings. You asked, Chair, you brought up the issue of construction. We have 2 stalled construction. One is the maternal and child health complex. Chair, we have not been getting capital development for the last 4 years. However, in November last year, Ministry of Health gave us 1.2 billion shillings, which we used for finishing the MCH building. The contract, extended contract runs up to end of April, and by end of April we'll be occupying that building. And that also houses the ICU. And since there is a question on the ICU, I will come to the ICU later. So the other stalled building is the staff house, which has stalled for the last 11 years. And I hope we shall also get capital development starting next financial year to complete this, to complete the staff house.
Now, for the staff house, you need to update us on What was the contract value? How much has been paid? What is the physical progress so far?
What Chair, Basil Bataringa, I have interest also in Masaka Hospital since last day. What gives him the confidence that his coming financially after 11 years is going to get development budget? Or there is already an indication in the IPF?
Chair, to answer Honorable Bataringa, mine is a prayer. And my prayer is to the Honorable Chair, because she is the service of that place. Chair, the other question on the issue of the contract sum for the staff house, I think the PDU procurement can answer. Procurement?
That contract was awarded in 2015 at a cost of 10 billion, but so far it has gone to around 25% of the works. 25% of the works to be done. So it's just at a ground level yet. Not much work.
Is that contractor still there? Do you call him? Are you in touch? And who is the contractor?
The contractor is Block Technical Services.
Chair, that one is 2015. There is a at least shared some detail. Because 2015, 2026, 11 years, 11 years later, you are saying 25%. The contract did not have exit clauses or something. Because
No completion time.
it
was open-ended.
So it could go up to
The next government.
Yes.
Chair, that contract was signed, it was supposed to run for a period of 36 months from 2015, that's roughly about 3 years. And ever since when there was no funding on the capital, the contractor banned on site, and as we talk now, there is nobody on that site.
Chair.
Yes,
Follow-up
Honorable.
question. You know, you see, this is what we are tiptoeing into details. So, in the contract, there are clauses for either exit, termination, mandate. So, who is responsible for the contract? And why are you still holding the contract as if it is running, and you are not revoking the clauses of the contract? And then, because I have not seen the detail in the report, but I think there is something that he's not giving a detail, which should be.
Do you still have a running contract? Did it just end automatically? Where are you as the entity?
On my side, ideally, I would say the contract has been taken over by time, much as officially it was not called off. But if it was 36 months, and it's over and above 36 months.
Honorable colleagues, we just have to take note that Masaka Regional Referral Hospital, this construction falls under the category of the Mbarara Regional Referral of the 32 staff units that has also stalled for some time. Yes, Honorable Bambura.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I really want to request the prayers that have been made by the accounting officer to you to arrive well. We have seen many accounting officers come and go when this project is not moving. So if those prayers can be received, let them be. Otherwise, this team, like for the big main building, maybe you would tell us about the main building. Because those are the two projects that have been hanging there. I recall that resources have not been extended to you for the last 4 financial years for this work. Let's get that status. But I am with you with the prayers that you are requesting to reach and the land chair comfortably well.
Chair.
Yes, Honorable Samba.
Chair, when something comes up, that's when we talk about it. But Masaka has not only one. There are so many projects that stalled in Masaka Hospital. And if it pleases you, Chair, we can handle all, because it's not only one. They have several projects that stalled. And what I want to hear from them is where are the communications about this stalled project? For example, the one of the group staff welfare construction of staff house, 11 billion, only 4 page. Chair, there is the 13 years ago they built a multi-purpose building, non-functional. They have construction of maternity and children complex. The project has started in May to date, it has never been completed. Chair, there are many. This one is the ICU remodeling. The project has stalled since 2021. So there are several, Chair, according to the reports of the Auditor General. What I'm interested in, who is responsible for this status? It could be you, Doctor, and your team, if you're just waiting on things to happen. It could be Minister of Health, it could be Minister of Finance. Now, what exonerates you, Doctor, is to show us that you have been communicating by laying on the table the letters you have been communicating to either Minister of Health or Minister of Finance about these projects. And we would be happy then to meet Minister of Finance, to question them why they spend 12 billion, Madam Chair. The project was 12 billion. They paid 12 billion. And up to now, the project is non-functional. So we really need to interrogate this further. Chair, we shouldn't just leave it.
Okay. Let's proceed. So about the storage projects, you have the staff houses. You said the complex is about to update us on also the complex.
Chair, thank you very much, Honorable Sami. Let me go back to the MCH complex. The MCH complex has 2 contracts. A contract within a contract. The first contract was the construction of the MCH building. Then Ministry of Health came and awarded, because of COVID, awarded the contract of ICU. And the contract of ICU is the contract which has delayed the entire building. Why? Because there was no money released from Ministry of Health. And I mentioned it earlier that in November 2025, Ministry of Health released the remaining balance which was supposed to be for the completion, which is supposed to be for the completion of the ICU building. And that's why he said that contract, the dual process of extension was followed. Contracts committee extended the contract without cost, and the contract was extended up to April 2026. And after April 2026, we are entering that building. We are starting to use it, both the ICU and the maternal and child complex, which also houses the NICU, the neonatal intensive care unit. Thank you. So, I will continue with the other issues you raised. The staff housing, I think the staff housing you have answered. Now, the other contracts you say...
Doctor, you're soon using the ICU, you're soon using the multi-purpose building.
one building?
Yes, Chair, it is one building.
Because you say the delay of utilization of the multipurpose building was the non-completion of the IC.
Yes,
So
Chair.
now the IC is at 1% if you speak as of today.
Chair, the IC is about 90%.
About 90%.
Yes.
And when it is done, then the entire building will be 100%.
The 100% used, they were completed.
So this means this solves the challenge of that small old building of the maternal. Eh? Then it also solves the issue of the NICU.
Yes, Chair.
One of our colleagues, if we went to the maternity ward of Masaka Regional Hospital, you can't believe. How old is Masaka Regional Hospital?
The hospital started in 1947. It could be the regiment of so many people who are retired.
Let's proceed. Why are you always worried about age? Whenever you speak about age, your colleague is very passionate about age. Age is number, but it also has an impact on performance, so that should be a record. But you can proceed.
Chair, on the
And as you proceed, you should be, I should remind you that when Kijali was here, they told us that they don't have a machine that can give confirmation of the age of someone. So let's leave the issue of age at that. Let's proceed.
Chair, the other contract Honorable Sambo talked about is is the oxygen plants. The oxygen plant contract is under UPDF, Engineers Brigade, and Ministry of Health. They have completed the construction 100%. The equipment are on site, but the installation is pending for the last 2 years.
What does it take to, you said the installation, which is that delays for 2 years?
Chair, the equipment is on site. The installation has not been done because the contract is by the UPDF Engineering Brigade and Ministry of Health.
Yes or no, Batamia?
You see, the accounting officer has a role in this. If the construction has been done, the equipment is on site. What is stopping the installation? What effort on your side have you put in to remind? Because is the contract terminatable? Or have you taken effort to remind them?
Is it a donation?
What is it? Because there is something you are not answering.
Chair, I would also add to what NABABAKA said, is that oxygen plant having also two contracts, where one has been extruded to the latter, and the other is the one that is been lagging for the last 2 years.
I think the ones who contracted the UPDF is the UPDF donating. Where is the obligation as an entity? Because if you pay, then what is the relation between you and UPDF?
Chair, thank you. Honorable Batarina, the contract was awarded centrally by the Ministry of Health to UPDF. I think it was a directive, presidential directive, that this construction is go back to UPDF. We have been having site meetings and they are negative. So our role is the supervisionary role. Then the other contract, which is also under UPDF, is the construction of the radiology complex. It is almost 80% done, and I think we just had a meeting with them last week. So our role with UPDF is the overall supervision of the contract, because we are the owner of the facility. And Chair, for your information, the oxygen plant and the radiology complex is for the region. It's not only for the regional hospital, but for the entire region. That means the oxygen will be supplied, I mean, the oxygen is meant for the entire region. The radiology unit will have mammograph for CT scan and MRI for the entire region. Chair, you talked about power outage.
Chair, please. You see, we have had issues here where money has been budgeted, money has been, the contracts have been executed, money has been paid to the full, okay? Full contract paid, and then works are partially done. So my interest here is in this contract. What are the financials? Has the money been, because if somebody has been paid and is not being followed, he has no interest. So the money goes on the accounting officer or whoever was responsible for the payments, and then work is not going on. So we'd like to find out what was the contract amount. What is stopping these on-site meetings which are going on? What are they resolving? Because you have not indicated whether you have in those on-site meetings decided that now, maybe by June, we shall have everything will be in place and something.
Chair, I'm going to start with you as this is not a donation. The installation of the oxygen plant for UPDF started with the Kayunga. I think they have finished Kayunga. After that, will come to us. It's not a donation, Chair. The money was paid fully to UPDF, not by us. It was paid fully to UPDF by Ministry of Health. 100%. It's not part of our budget. And then for the MCH complex, the money for the ICU part of the contract comes from Ministry of Health. The one they released the last, which I mentioned, that they released in November 2025, they released 1.2 billion. One for operationalization of the MCH complex, and the 580 million for completion of the ICU. And that's why the contract was extended without cost. And then, for your information, Chair, the contractor has taken us to court for non-payment and delayed payment. We owe the contractor 3.8 billion shillings, which we must pay.
Which contractor?
The contractor for the MCH complex. That is, no, this is for the ICU. Yeah. Honorable Tengera, this is for the ICU.
Now taking who to court when contracts were
Masaka Regional Referral Hospital, Honorable
the
Nsamba.
contracts were awarded by who?
Honorable Nsamba, there are two contracts. One contract was awarded by Ministry of Health, that is the ICU, and then us, the Masaka Regional Referral Hospital, we awarded the contract for the construction of the MCH complex.
But you see that the buildings and 100% has been waiting for the ICU. How come we've been taken to court?
Yeah, because remember, there were delays, Honorable Chair, there were delays in payment, and the contractor had bank obligations. So he decided that since we delayed to pay him, we accrued this the interest, and he's taking us to court. But we had meetings with Ministry of Health that we shall solve
How much
this.
is the accrued interest?
The accrued interest, I think, is 3.8 billion shillings. Chair, can I continue?
Proceed.
Chair, you talked about power outage. Power outage.
Yeah, I don't want to doctor Doctor, what was the contract value for the MCH building?
I think the head of procurement, can you give them the contract and the variations after that?
Yes, Chair. That contract was awarded at 9 million. 9 billion. Then there were valuations there that summed up to 12 billion.
So, and for how long was it supposed to be?
It was supposed to take also 36 months. That is from 2014.
And why did it take 13 years?
So I think what
Because I'm looking at some common events here. You start a building, you award a contract, you abandon it. Then tomorrow you're charging taxpayers 3.8 billion. Even when the service in one in 2016 was not provided. Is there any communication about the same since 2016 that you can show this committee, accounting officer?
Account officer, in regard to this MCH, the maternal and child health complex, you are going to give us contract management documents, the exchange of letters that has been taking place between you, the funder, because we need to know who is going to lead to this financial loss of 3.8 billion of interest. Yes, we know the ministries in some instances are going to be disbursing money back to the government, but we need to have evidence from you that something has been done by the entity for this MCH and the staff houses. We're going to provide details of that process of exchange of contract management.
Chair.
Proceed.
Thank you. You talked about issues of power consistency, yes, and our generators. Chair, we have generators, and we have very big gathers. The only issue we have is we have very low budget for the current and very low budget for fuel. Actually, we get about 36 million shillings per quarter, and that involves ambulances, involves generator use, involves medical waste incineration, involves transportation, and so on. So that money is not enough, for sure. Then, Chair, you talked about...
We get incidents where power is off and we cannot afford to run the generator.
Yeah, of late it has been terrible. Power has been going off either for 10 hours, 8 hours in Masaka. And remember, we have to warm babies. Babies must be warmed until they walk home with their mothers. So those are some of the unfortunate incidents that which occur. But the Chair, the other thing is also power has become low. And it can be low for almost 12 hours. And this is very dangerous to our equipment. Medical equipment. Remember, there has been an increase in investment by government in high-end equipment for diagnostics. So with low power, you don't run it. And for your information, Chair, once power goes off, if it is in the laboratory, the entire cascade is wasted. You will restart the process. Chair, there is also an issue of Nicho.
On the issue of power, that was a challenge to Chief Group. But as we are realizing that we must have constant power supply when it comes to medical facilities. Yeah, because I understand we lost some lives in Masaka because of issues of power. Honorable colleagues, for us to stay in that region, we can at times even have 2 days of power outage, 2 days. So it's a big challenge in Masaka, and we shall also move as far as negotiating with UEDC. At least they can move from homesteads, but when it comes to medical facilities, we know how Masaka has suffered. There is one time there was somebody who lost a patient who was on oxygen. So it's something that needs to be settled when it comes to power. Masaka has become a little unique, but we can proceed.
Chair, you brought out the issue of congestion in the hospital, and I think that one definitely the hospital is congested because people seek specialized services, and the more investment government puts in regional hospitals, the more it attracts services.
What's the capacity?
We are at 385 capacity, but we are need more than that. we have floor cases everywhere, whether maternity, whether medical ward, whether children's ward, we have floor cases. So those are just for planning purposes. But the bed capacities, I mean, the bed occupancy is more than that, and the capacity is more than that.
The population that you serve, what is the population?
Chair, from you, boss, the last census put us at 2.2 million population we serve.
Okay.
You asked about the issue of Nichu.
My honorable colleagues, when he speaks about where I was looking into Masaka being underfunded, but when you look at Masaka, a 2.2 million population, you are getting 17 billion. We had 14. Anyway, we had in Naburu of a 4 million population getting a budget of 13, you remember? 13 billion. So we also need to question the rationale of funding these referral hospitals. Then you had in Barara with a population of 6.7 million minus the refugee camps. Barara gets 17 billion. So the rationale of giving these hospitals really funding by finance or the Ministry of Health, one wonders what is the basis of who gets what. But you can proceed. We shall get the details of all those referral hospitals. Look at the population and then the budget that is given. It leaves a lot to really give so many questions as to what do they depend on to really give you money. But you can proceed.
Chair, that amount of money, about 80% goes to wage. The later is where left for service, other services. You asked me about Nichu. Chair, the Nichu bed capacity is about 17, but we are limit more than 38 on each and every day. That means these babies.
Capacity of Nichu is 17?
Yes, but we are limit up to 8, between 38 and 42 every day. So it is a congested place. But when we move to the new
what is
Nichu,
the nurse to patient ratio in the NICU?
there are always 2 midwives there, which is still staffed, and I think maybe the consultant will talk more about that.
Please give us those details.
Dr. Luis, can you talk about that?
The nurse to patient ratio in the NICU.
Thank you, Chair. In most cases, NICU is full to capacity. However, according to the duty schedules, 2 people serve the unit per shift, and there are 3 shifts in 24 hours.
So that means every nurse takes care of how many babies, if you were to allocate them?
On approximation, each nurse will take care of about 8 babies.
Salad was 1 Kawepo was 1 to 10.
Chair,
Yes, Honorable.
thank you very much. My name is Susan Romero. I'm the woman member of Parliament from the district and member of this committee. Chair, it doesn't come to what explanation the accounting officer was giving. Because if you say that the total number every day is about 38 to 42 children, and if there are 3 shifts, and you're saying there are 2 nurses, so that means every nurse for 8 hours is having not less than 20 children. Now, when you tell me that every nurse takes care of about 8,
So,
it doesn't make sense, because we are talking about these shifts at the time when they are in the station. How many children do they take care of? Because that is the time when they are in office. So now if you count even the ones who are off duty, or the ones who are coming, it doesn't make sense. Could you clarify on this and tell us the truth? How many children per nurse?
we have support of the intern doctors, the intern nurses. Yeah. So,
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Yeah. You know what you can? When you go to health center 3s, you find some 2 midwives. Health center 3. I'm wondering how we can have 2 midwives at the regional referral hospital.
Those are nurses. They are midwives.
2 midwives,
In the neonatal unit.
and they are handling 42 mothers. It's very unfortunate.
Maybe Chair, we should address the entire
The staffing.
staffing levels.
The fact that you were speaking to the neonatal unit, we wanted to dispose that off. We were looking at those.
Dispose of the
Yes.
staffing, probably even.
So I'm just the NICU issue, then we address the staffing across.
Okay, Chair, I will give permission to the Principal of Human Resources for that, to address Honorable Mejuke's fear. Honorable Mejuke, I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. The recruiting authorities are different. District local governments, very good at them, thank you. The recruiting authorities are different. District local governments recruit their own staff. For us, we depend on Health Service Commission. And let me just give you an example. I do 800, on average, 800 deliveries per month. I do between 11 and 18 seizures per day in the Masaka Regional Referral Hospital. And I have only 32 midwives. Chotera has 82 midwives in the local government. 82.
Now let's go slow on that. 800 deliveries per month.
800 deliveries, Chair, 800 deliveries per month. Is that okay? And I have 30,
C-section.
they leave 11 to 18 C-sections per day. And I have only 32 midwives in the hospital. And I'm comparing it to Chotera, which is the local government, and it has 82 midwives. So the recruitment authorities are really different. Ours will depend on the service commission. Thank you.
How many masters do you have a month? Because if you have the other recommend, it would be useful to give us the, because we know that was the same.
You are taking
You have any
from
information
these
about
mandates.
that? No, it's not bad.
But Dr. McQueen,
Because whether the answer is no, it's depending on local government, vis-a-vis the service commission. And I will pray that, as what I was saying, because that issue was already there. But my problem with you go to, you complain about public service, but we don't have documents attached. How you demand for that anomaly to be stabilized. It helps us a lot against the auditors' complaint.
They have on their responses, the book of responses, there are some documents attached, though. Will they speak to the issue of understaffing? You just refer us to the appendix that you speak to. So we take note of the gross understaffing in the issue. So give us the general staffing. What is the structure? How many do you have?
Chair, I will give that opportunity to the Principal of Human Resources.
Thank you, Chair. We have 280 staff in total, and we are supposed to have 1,217. That is low. 1,217. That is our total structure establishment. But currently we have 280, comprising of all categories.
and that percentage is?
And the percentage is below 23. We are around between 21 and 22%.
23%.
But you can even see it from here. The number is very small. It's not because of where all we can talk about the number is very small.
Prayer is under construction, that's why they are very few.
But, okay, but Chair, maybe allow me add that we have efforts and we are happy that at least our wage has been enhanced according to the IPFs that we have received for the next financial year, from 9.8 billion to 14 billion. that is about a difference of other 4 billion. And we hope to do much to that. And actually, we also got clearance to recruit for some positions, including midwives, and our submission is already in the Health Service Commission. So we are waiting to receive more staff as soon as the commission is done with the validation exercise that have been undertaken in the past 2 weeks.
So you give us details of the current staff, leave alone these other cleaners and what, the doctors and the, how we call them, medical staff.
Yes.
Because you find that with these 280, you find that most of them are, we call them clerical, these others, support staff. So we need to get, do you move with those details?
Yes, I have, because I have a laptop, I can retrieve it.
So we are going to get a preview and have a printout. You know, honorable colleagues, you've had a challenge of where somebody tells you have 280 staff, but 70% of those are support. Then when it comes to fulfillment of those critical positions and medical, we lack staff. Now if one asks, what is your doctor-to-patient ratio in that hospital?
We have 17 medical officers appointed. So I think conversion can be made vis-a-vis the patients. We have only 17 medical officers, but we also have specialists, at least.
How many specialists do you have?
Chair, maybe Dr. Naltekon. Chair, in the Department of Internal Medicine, we have 1 consultant and 2 other specialists. And in the Department of Pediatrics, we have 3 consultants, and 2 consultants with 1 specialist and 2 unappointed. And Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, we have 2 specialists. 1 is a senior consultant, 2 are not appointed, and 1 is retired last month.
Now, those details are too many for to be listed like that. You're going to give us that. We want to help ourselves out because we need to have the critical staff structure thing, critical ones. This thing of having not 280, but most of them are support. You see? So we need to see how many of those positions that are medical in nature that are not filled. Let's proceed.
Chair, you asked about the burns unit. There's no burns unit in South Central or Southern Uganda. The unfortunate loss of the 8 children who burned was just because we did not have a burns unit, but we have a HDU, and in future the ICU will take care of that, but we really need burns specialists. That's why we keep on referring to the children.
So in this country, all burns are in the whole country are handled in Chiludru, all other areas have. Does honorable colleagues who come from Bataringa honorable, does Nimbara have a burns unit? You need to consult? Please do.
Chair, as is looking for, I would request the accounting officers, as they are saying that the shortfall has been passed. You know, you better know those documents that you have asked and they have allowed you. But some of these things can either say, and tomorrow, as you say, others they say 70, we have enough labor, and yet you have a support staff. I request them to give us evidence of the steps they have taken and what the ministry has done to ensure that the workforce is in place.
Okay. Honorable Bataringa, do you have the details of your burns?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So I wrote the director, Dr. Bills, do you have a balance section by regional referral hospital? And he responded by saying, children with burns join the pediatric surgical theater, which is supported by Bethany Kids. Adults stay next to the rest of the adults in surgical patients. hospital has 2 plastic surgeons from the plastic side. Thank you. 2 days are dedicated for plastic surgeries in a week.
So that means Bar also improvises. So same with Masaka needs to improvise. Yes,
And Chair, you know, there are many accidents, and even recently, where buses, vehicles burn. So for children in schools, and then for children and students and children in schools, and then those some of us who use vehicles along the roads. So burn section is very critical in these hospitals. So we need to pay attention to it. Not only in the Masaka and Barera, but also the regional hospitals. So we need a section.
So you should not forget to ask those other referrals when they come. Please raise it to know at least the status from them. Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Chair. The human resource was very excited about the increment in wage. I would also like to request that the human resource gives us a list of those critical positions that they would like to fill with that way, because you might find that they've been given wage, and because they are seeing the critical positions as being expensive to pay, they go in for these cleaners and other class of workers. We want to see the list really, because we want to know what are their priorities if they are really considering to raise the staff levels in Masaka Regional Referral Hospital.
So as you submit the case of the personnel, please give us all those updates. Yes, Doctor.
Chair, you brought about the issue of ambulances. The region has 48 ambulances, the government of Uganda, and out of the 48, 40 are working, and the 8 are functional. The main challenge of these ambulances is the amount of fuel was dropped from 5 million to 1 million by the Ministry of Health, and we still survive on the same fuel we have for the hospital. Remember I said I get 36 million per quarter for fuel, for ambulances, for generators, for travels and everything. Get the same amount. So
are you the one who fuels all the 40 ambulances? Or the others are fueled by those different entities?
Chair, each ambulance has its own card, and the card is given to either the local governments or the regional.
So for you, I want to know the ambulances that are running by you directly. How do you have as a referral?
We have 5, and all are working, and those are the ones we manage.
So meaning the ambulance section, you are okay?
Fair, because
how many are you meant to have?
Ambulances, I think 5 are enough for regular. Yeah, 5 is enough. Let the rest go to the constituencies.
Yes, Honorable Song.
Because 5 ambulances, and what about the service? Because if you say 1 million for fuel alone, that ambulance, isn't it? What is it sponsorship from? And servicing, tires, we need to know that.
Chair, Honorable Sewongo, we have been discussing on the issues of fuel, and I've been asking you to pay for your fuel.
That's right.
I have to be very frank on that. The 1 million is not enough. That is just 1 or 2 referrals, and the servicing is being done by Ministry of Health. Yes.
But is it routinely done very well?
Yeah, it's done routinely very well, and the tires are replaced as per the mileage.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Honorable.
you need to be very serious on the issue of fuel. You know, as he's stating, I have bought fuel for these ambulances, and the minimum is 500 to one fuel. Yes, 500, 400, I think that's what is required. But these patients, you live along the ones for where I come from, but where they don't have an where the MP is not aware that they have to drop. We need to all to take keen interest in this. But look now, you have to take this committee. They dropped that fuel from 5 million to 1 million. You give us the effects and what we propose for this committee to handle. Because also as you don't do it very well, by the way.
Because, Doctor, you understand, that's the regional referral hospital. The expectation of the public is when you get to that hospital, free services. Somebody is meant to be transferred to Kampala in critical condition. That means if I don't have money for fuel, I will be staying till when I get the what? When I get the money.
One time, there was a child dying. The father was crying, the mother-in-law was crying. These people, they helped me to put this child in an ambulance because someone already paid the fuel. I survived by that chance of what already paid, but I've never even seen that child. Ever since was him, I've not gotten any information. So the issue of fuel, and you know, you give me an ambulance without fuel, then you have given me nothing. I don't know members whether you can agree with that. A vehicle without fuel is
Honorable Wanda, as we conclude.
Madam Chair, the issue of fuel and specifically that cut is very significant. I think it's important that we get, did they provide an explanation for that cut? And even then, I think we should take more interest in it. Why should they cut fuel by such a percentage? That's 80%. Because it meant that all operations must also be cut by 80%. So I think it's a very critical matter that we need to take up.
So from a spiritual referral, we take note of the fuel, we take note of the storage structures, those that have stayed for 11 years. We shall see what to do.
I think for fuel, it cuts across. I think it's a recommendation for all of those. You can cascade downwards. The idea of the ambulance, but there are also those ambulances that use a lot of fuel, like the water ambulance, that will come from the lake areas. They, like my place, they give us the water ambulance. But you know, it has not moved. Because they are not given fuel. When after 2 years, it's just passed there. Yeah. The other day, it was just a day to use it when we were launching the ferry in Buku. We put fuel to come to Buku with Kamuzi. Yes, they provided it, and I guess the same thing applies to the Masaka area because of the Lake Victoria and the Karanga. So those water ambulances use more fuel than these ordinary ambulances because Friday using 2 engines and big ones. So they fuel consumption. Even at one time, in fact, that's the day I was passing the cow of Serena. They had to put fuel. And that's why, because it takes only 30 minutes for me to cross from Casino to Common. But you put fuel of about 500,000. Yeah, that's how the concept is. So, we make as a recommendation for this broad ambulance and there's no broad ambulance. I don't know, maybe
I hope we shall interrupt. Does Ginger refer us what ambulance?
I want to ask about it. Do you have a water ambulance?
How do you handle Karanga? Because Karanga
Yes,
is
Chair.
Yeah. Do you have a water ambulance?
Chair, we have the watercraft, which is a water ambulance. The same issue, overconsumption of fuel and rarely used.
How much is it used?
I need to get in touch with the DHO of Karanga. Yes.
So you say this is a watercraft, the other one is an aircraft. So this is a watercraft.
Yeah.
But why don't we call the road transport roadcraft? So
they have to make it for us from Karanga.
They
have to use it. And you know, the population of Karanga is not small. But then also islands are scattered. So they will really be getting enough value.
When it came to police, So those are things we should combine, because marine has not been given attention. So the underbudgeting of the maritime transport within the police, very well underfunded. There were some orphans there, orphan officers. They are not funded at all. So they cannot have a uniform, they don't have diving something. So the kids, so we need to have this as we also compare to the marine, the maritime unit of the police. So we take note of this watercraft. It is a new technology. Please, let's proceed.
I'm not sure if you are applying the issues on which we are taking note. I hope we don't forget the 23% staff.
Yeah, please.
23% at the regional level. It's very staffing levels.
Give us the list of what they intend to recruit.
Yeah, they're going to provide those details. So we proceed.
This financial year, were you given any monies, additional monies for recruitment?
Yes, Honorable Sir, we got money for and we have submitted.
From 9 billion to 14 billion.
Yes.
That's about 15.
So let's proceed.
Chair, the other ambulance which we really need in the region is the Type C. We have only 2 Type C. One was donated by Malteser. It is kept in Luengo, but as a body, there is nothing inside. And then the other one is private with the city ambulance, which is based in Zimbabwe. But we need the regional referral hospital needs Type C ambulance. Type C is just a theatre, such that when you are...
So how about Zimbabwe have Type C and we don't have as a region?
That is private for city ambulance, yes. City ambulance.
City ambulance, so as per the referral hospital doesn't have a Type C.
Yes. Actually, it costs us 1.2 million to refer head injury in critical condition to Malawi. It moves slowly, the engine is big, and you will survive. And then, Chair, you talked about the private wing. The private wing is now boosted. It has three physicians, consultants, and then 1 MO, plus the other groups, the nurses, the midwives, and so on. However, you complained of how old it is. We are going to renovate. We have started actually renovating. And since they increased our budget in this current financial year from the 378 million to 1 billion, we are using part of the money we collected from the private wing for renovations.
What is the weight purpose of the private wing of Masaka?
Chair, I think it's about 40. 14, not 40, 14.
We have room for expansion. It has been like that for the last couple of years. Permanent and pension. The services are highly required, but you pay the money, but you don't.
Yeah, it is only this financial year that our budget was raised from 378 million to 1.2 billion.
Have we bought some new beds?
Yes, we have new beds, Chair.
No, have new beds.
Yes.
So nobody is to go to the private wing of Masaka and you think that you are in the health center thing. You pay money, but really the ambulance of that place. One would prefer getting treatment from down, then you come up. Actually, for me, the time I was there, I would just pay for bed up, then move for treatment down. When it comes to labor, down is better than up. I don't know whether that has improved this time round.
Yes, improved. Chair, we talked about extortion. Yes, I acknowledge really it's a big problem. In my 4 hospitals I've headed, Masaka, I've interdicted 9 people in my life as a counting officer, but 7 are from Masaka. So they also fight back terribly. You have to be careful. Yes, they fight back terribly. When I was a medical superintendent at Moroto Regional Hospital for 17 years, I don't think we had anything called extortion. No.
There was no one at that stage.
They don't know money.
You know, Masaka is unique in every way. They know
in the city.
Masaka is dancing is different. It's a different style, but that's not the way we should do things. It is a very big problem in Masaka Referral Hospital. Corruption. The songs are affecting you. So, Doctor, we pray that you really fight that extortion, especially in the labor section. Maternity.
I would also request to say something about that. There's zero tolerance to extortion in the hospital, mostly in the maternity department. Definitely, there will always be those vices, there will always be people who will take us off our main course. But we try, and we've put steps to try to eliminate that habit from the house. We have a rewards and sanctions committee. We have suggestion boxes. We've pinned phone numbers of the responsible people to handle that problem, at least to the sensitive areas of the wards. We've put cameras in some of these sensitive spots where exchange or communication could be. So I think we are doing our best to hold the day.
Okay.
Thank you.
Update us about that tent out there at the maternity section. What happens when it rains? The mothers sleep out there?
The tent was, in NICU or in neonatal ICU, there's no space provided for mothers the space provided for mothers to stay and probably watch over their babies not enough. So that is where they go prepare whatever they have to eat. That's where they keep some of their things.
You see what we go through. That place is terrible. Just imagine a mother who has a baby in the NICU, the pain you go through, but when it comes also where to sleep, because you used to have some 2 beds, and the mothers would just stand. Standing, and it tells you he has 42. But by that time they had 2 beds. You just have to stand for us in the private up. I used to move down because the NICU was down. But also, that inconvenience of moving up and down, your C-section. But that tent out there, really, I don't know, good enough you are telling us the block is soon, you are about to complete it, but the mothers in the neonatal unit really suffer. And what happens with that tent when it rains? Automatically, what affects them? So for now we have nothing to do but
we are counting on the hopes for the new building.
But
probably that will be so.
The new building might be completed. Could they tell us whether they have a provision for those mothers in that new building? Because it could get completed and they have other priorities.
Different. I see you, but mothers have more too. Do we have a provision, especially for the NICU mothers?
Chair, that new building was a design to cater for what is in the old niche. There is a nursery, there is a mother's waiting area where mothers will be resting. Even there is area for mothers with kangaroo, on kangaroo. So that is all catered in the new building. That's why we are really working hard. We must move here after April to the new building.
Because in the old building, there is no provision for mothers in kangaroo. It's not there. And by that time, for me, I was advised to go back home and handle the baby from home. But you know what it means to handle a preterm baby from home?
Even in our old structure, the kangaroo provision has been improvised basically. It's there.
So, Doctor, honorable colleagues, as you handle some of these and you go through the report, it will be a matter of going through because these are some of the critical issues that. So let's hope that the building gets completed in time and we have at least relatively standard service in the line of medical in Masaka Regional Fact. The complaints are simply too many, but let's hope we shall sort one by one as time goes by. So, honorable colleagues, once we get to a matter that has been responded to during the first discussion, we shall just skip it. We go to item 1.2 outstanding payables. We did speak to the water bills and interested in this? Yes, on Batania.
I had it the type C units. Yes, the type C units, because Masaka Middle Referral Hospital is a hospital along the highway. Before people are referred, before people first go to the hospital, they are assessed, and then there are those that need referrals. But those referrals need attention along the way, as they maybe, let's assume they are maybe referred to all the hospitals around Kampala, which they have better services. So I want people interested to ask the director, what steps are you taking to ensure we would like to see some evidence that you are making an effort to acquire type C areas in the hospital? Because it is a critical equipment that is needed.
Then, doctor, what is the bed capacity of our emergency area? It looks to be small. Every time you get to that emergency, very congested, the beds are finished. What is the capacity of our emergency area? Do you have provisions of expanding, or that is all we should have?
Maybe I start with yours. Our emergency currently has 7 beds, and those 7 beds with the ICU of 10 beds, I think when we triage well, that could be adequate. Because once you are critical and you are triaged and you are critical, you will be migrated to ICU. There is just for stabilizing, but we have only one HDU unit, high dependency unit. To come to the question of Honorable Batemere, yes, we have written to the ministry and we are in constant discussion of having a type C ambulance in that region because of the 2 bifurcation of the highway, and there's a lot of accidents on that.
Water-based electricity bills.
And what we have done is we have started sending our surgeons to Mulago for 6 months, and then ABALARA is also doing that, so that we can have people who can now attend to head trauma and head injuries. Yes, water bills, we still have utility bills because of increased investment by government in high-end diagnostics. So the CT scan, the digital X-rays, and so on consume a lot of power. And then for water, definitely the population is extremely high. The patients are too many. The attendants are too many. Those are the things which consume water. But we are also collecting water. We are collecting rainwater. We want to use the rainwater for cleaning purposes and for washing purposes. Thank you.
Yesterday, colleagues had a proposal here of can we regulate the number of caretakers when it comes to those who are admitted? Can we regulate it? Because by yesterday's interaction, we realized that there is a picture that we had, a photograph that we had from Kawempe. And one of our colleagues here looked at some family seated and he said, oh, this one might be from Kalungu. He was seated somewhere and they all, you know how the Kalungu people behave. When somebody is sick, the whole clan comes. The mothers and fathers, they don't come. So when you looked at the photo, it looked like having 15 members from one family, but all those consume space. It is not safe for the patients within the ward. Do we have a way of regulating caretakers when it comes to public hospitals? Or I should come with my family and keep there. Don't you think to some extent these are the areas that we should regulate? Don't you think it's a cost to the hospital? At all so. Even if it comes to some of our colleagues who are Muslims here, you have 4 wives, all of them want to be besides you when you are sick as the husband, and we see how we can regulate that. You know, if a patient should have this number of caretakers. And I know once it is a policy, people will. So you have, because you are, and you know, you find yourself spending areas that you would have avoided. Those who put pressure on the sanitary spaces, toilets, and what, even the water, the electricity. So once you get of that, you can have that money put in purchase of drugs. Have you ever thought about that? Can we regulate the number of caretakers in these hospitals? Is it possible for you are practically there? Please.
Yes, Chair. One of those things is very cultural. When somebody falls sick, the entire community comes. And it is not easy to put that in absolute practice like in private hospitals. But we have been regulating, we have been giving cards, but still they bust the cards, they share it over the fence. You give it back, somebody goes back to come back with it. So we shall fight it and we shall make sure.
So it's done in a friendly way. You know, once this is exchanged by a service, people will abide. Because if somebody is shown that, you know, when we do this, we reduce here and this is an investment here, people can abide. The only challenge is if this is denied of me, how do I gain out of it? So because it's for the benefit of every one of us, you see? So we go to outstanding payables. Though we do not give figures of if you have areas, then we are coming to areas. Yeah. So you have these outstanding payables. The author noted that the payables alone increased from 641 million to 848.
Chair, with your permission, I think I will leave the accountant since he's more comfortable there.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Honorable Chair and members. The auditor's observation was that domestic area has increased from 0.64 billion to 0.8, representing a 32% increase in June 2025. And as per his recommended, the auditor's recommendation was advised the accounting officer to engage the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Community Development for budget allocation for payment and clearing of these domestic areas in the subsequent financial year. As the Director had explained, the accumulation of these areas is primarily attributed to sustained investment in hospital infrastructure, domestic services, equipment, and human resources for health, which has driven increasing demand for hospital services. This is further compounded by the population growth. There has been a marked increase in utility consumption alongside high maintenance costs and steadily rising tariffs by service providers over time. But all these are against our static budget for more than a decade. Our budget has been static, and yet these services and utilities continue to grow. To expand on the figures, we carried forward areas of 858 million from previous financial year. This 216 million was accrued in the financial year under audit. And these areas comprise 153 million for utilities, that is water and electricity, and 63 million is for other goods and services. These areas were declared the internal auditor general and accountant general for appropriate action as the appendix 2. And for guidance, honorable members, the responses run up from page 1 up to page 30. Then from page 30 onwards are the appendices. So after appendix 1, there is appendix 2, and these are the submission of domestic areas to the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance, Planning and Development. The copy given to internal auditor general. And also in our financial statements, Annex number 4, these details of these domestic areas are included.
Chair, I think this appendix may not help us so much. But what is actually seen here is that first of all, you made a commitment beyond what was approved. The appropriation account, which is your budget for goods and services, had 1.915 billion. You went ahead to commit and spend 2.2. That's according to the statement of financial performance. But even to make it more further, that difference of 288 million is unauthorized. You authorized or transacted without a parliamentary approval of that amount. But to make it even further, beyond what you appropriated and received, you went ahead and paid cash of 1.98, a difference of 73 million, where we don't know where you got it from. So the law is very clear. You are not supposed to commit any institution without authorization. It's an offense. So whether you have written to accountant general or not, in the first instance, why did you commit or transact without parliamentary approval? So there are on basically two issues that arise there. One, that commitment to transacting without authorization. Two, paying money beyond what has been appropriated to you of 73 million. Because that's when you look at the increase in the areas is a result of these goods and services that you acquired without authorization. But even further, when you go back to the statement of appropriation and cash flow, you had actually asked for domestic payment of domestic areas, over 15 million. Yet you knew you had 600 and you had 612, but you only asked for only 15 million. So to me, writing to the accountant general does not, because you have already committed an offense by making transactions or committing the entity without authorization.
Thank you. The other members may also want to add something, but what I will say, one is that these are utilities to the hospital, water and electricity. We have good understanding with them that disconnecting these services will interrupt service to the hospital.
No. Wait a minute. You make a budget. You know how much electricity you have been consuming. You know how much water you have been consuming. You put it in your budget. And it's appropriated to you. Now you cannot tell us that you make less in your budget of what you consume. That's poor budgeting. So you cannot say that these are utilities as if you didn't know. You would incur that cost of utilities and have it in your budget. But you see your budget appropriated 1.98 billion, which includes those utilities. If you want, you can even go to the details and show us how much was electricity, how much was water and other utilities. Now, if you asked or budgeted less electricity than you normally consume according to the trade, then that is poor budgeting.
What was the basis for budgeting this?
Honorable Chair and members, as already stated by the accounting officer, the budget for the non-wage has been static for almost a decade. And so budgeting for these services is based on the indicative planning figures which is given by the Ministry of Finance Planning and Economic Development. So much as we allocated money and we budget for it, the services are increasing, but the money has been static for some time. So we find ourselves in a dilemma, we budget, but actual consumption is more than funds available.
Mr. Accounting Officer, Doctor, I want to learn something. You have your consumption, because as Maswali referred, you know that in a month, you spend maybe 3 million on water, you spend 5 million on electricity. Then you compute for the financial year as you prepare your budget. So what I want to learn from you, is it that you prepare your estimates for the next financial year budget? You say we want maybe 1 billion for water and electricity, but finance says you must prepare for less than about 200 million. Would it be the story? Because that's where we need to attack your challenges. This problem is not on your own. It appears no entities, but we want to learn that. Because my interest is knowing whether you need a budget for the expenses you need for those utilities.
Then you are given less.
Then you are given less. And that's where you are. Could you very personal that?
Chair, as mentioned earlier, for sure they give us those indicative planning figures, IPCs and the IPOs. And the other thing we could discuss is that, some of these utilities of, let's start with the water. Utility of water is really directly proportional to the number of patients who come in and attend us. Okay? At times the number of patients are extremely low. Definitely we will not use much for that matter or within that period. At times it is high. It's the same with the use of electricity. Diagnostics. If the X-ray is not exposed, it is not exposed. If it is exposed today for maybe 200 people, it is 200. Tomorrow, maybe 3,000, 3,000. So I think how utility comes in, the issue is more of what indicative planning figure you are given, or what you have been allocated to plan within. And I think that's where the issue is.
So that's where we have not gotten my answer. They give them the indicative figure, they say you must budget for this. For me, my interest is, all what you have said is accepted. The hospital might not spend a lot of money in water because of the less number of patients. If that money is available, still remains yours. But my interest is knowing that Masaka is going to be far in the financial, it needs 1.2 billion on water. It needs 2 billion on electricity. And because you have these records, basing on the meter readings. So what exactly happens? You prepare your financials asking for that amount, but we call them indicative figures. We are not a mathematician. I'm sure you study
information, Chair. In the previous year, they had spent 2 billion on these goods and services, and which he said is largely utilities. Now, what was the basis of budgeting for 1.3, even if they have given you indicative figures? don't you always have a discussion, you say that, but previously, the previous year, this was the cost. We do not anticipate it to be lower than this. Because here, we budgeted for 1.3 billion. Yet, in the accounts of the previous year, it was clear. It was 2 billion.
Yeah.
So, don't you have that there?
They budgeted for 1.3 and got the supplement.
Yes, it is only the supplementary that they are getting.
Maybe the chair as a planning officer, can you begin to answer?
Honorable Chair, the supplementary of 600 million was for the medical equipment workshop, which is tasked with maintaining the medical equipment for the whole region. So that financial year, medical equipment had not been financed, and we asked for that supplementary to get for medical equipment repairs and spares for the region. So it was not for utilities. Secondly,
Yes. For us, we are taking you by your word. You indicated that this amount is largely for these utilities, and that's why I put it plainly like that. So that means, I think we revert to the original budgetary figure of 1.3. So what was the basis? Even when the previous year had indicated that you needed much more than that. I am not thinking that the Minister of Finance can't listen when you tell them the position of the previous year.
I never wonder, we are here when PS told us Monday is not a problem.
That's what
Then we said, no, when we asked him, then why do you underfund some entities? Then he said, release is dependent on cash flow. That is what, he said, money is not a problem, but when it comes to release, he tells you money is not a problem, but when it comes to release is dependent on the what? On the cash flows. Honorable colleagues, if you take note of utilities, yes, it has been a challenge in many entities, but and in domestic areas, most we had Ginger is coming, but the other time Ginger had domestic areas of close to 1.something billion. That was for Ginger that time. That's why we're telling them improvise. So for me, the general home is finance should be considerate of some of these areas when they are giving IPOs. Remember when they give you an indicative figure, these things of negotiations, you know when these people come to committees and have unfunded priorities, you recommend that they should be given more money in these areas. But at approval of the budget, because there is no extra basket where they should be given money, it comes back to the regional budget as was. So if he tells us that for the last 3 years the budget has been static, we've been seeing these things here. A couple of activities falling under unfunded. So the only thing we can advise is improvise on issues of water, harvest water, have sensitizations of the patients on how to use water. We've seen patients, somebody puts on a tap, leaves the water leaking. That should be part of your sensitization services within the hospital. As we look out to negotiating for bigger budgets, but not to bigger budgets for wastage, we should also limit the wastage on the part. So honorable colleagues, we still have to...
But Chair, you can't also rule out that money was appropriated and used it. I don't want to use the word misuse. And use it for other payments, because you know utilities is something that you would come out clear and say, we cannot fail to incur this cost. Why am I raising this? It is still from here that 73 million, which was meant, appropriated to you for goods and services, was paid in the cash flow outside what was given to you.
What was it paid for?
And where did you get it from? Because if you are paying from your budget, it means that whatever you budgeted is exactly what you incur. So where do you get that money to pay from which cost center? So when we leave it at that, because people know utilities, everybody will know electricity, water, you can't do without them. Now money meant for that is used for something else, right? And you leave that one unpaid. But you need to understand that the law is very clear that unauthorized commitment and expenditure is punishable. It's an offense, it's in the law.
What was the 73 million used for? What did it pay?
Chair, where am I raising it? The appropriation has 1.915 billion. That's what was appropriated and released. But the cash flow on the same item, goods and services, has 1.988, meaning that they paid beyond what was appropriated. So the question is, where did you get that 73 million to pay for goods and services that was not appropriated to you?
Honorable, I beg to be right in which page you are reading from. Because
You got page, first of all, got page 9, statement of financial performance, and you look at note 10, then you go to page 11. Page 11 on the cash flow. Look at goods and services 1.988. Then go to page 13 on the appropriation. And look at goods and services 1.915. You can clearly see those figures and what you see.
yes, Honorable Chair, I get what you're reading. Now, for clarity and maybe to remind this House that the budget we operate is cash. We spend what we receive from the treasury. And when this cash is spent, then the ideas come about as a result of those consumed items that were not paid for. So it is not true that we paid this money out. It is outstanding. That is why what is it outstanding?
No, Chair. Chair, let's understand this. Let's start from page 13, the budget and appropriation. You have initial budget, you have adjustment, you have revised budget and actual performance. Actual performance is the money that was paid by treasury or that was paid for that particular expense. Now that one under normal circumstances should be equal to the cash flow because that's the money you got and spent. But you can see the cash flow on page 11, page 11 is more by 73 million. And the question is, where did you get the money you paid? That's 73 million. Because what we are given was 1.15. Then further, page 9, which is the statement of financial performance, you spent 2.2, meaning you committed the hospital beyond what was appropriated to you by 288. Because the difference between 2.2 and 1.15 that was appropriated to you is 288. So the three offenses you have committed, one, want to know where you paid the 73 million from. Where did it come from? Because it was not appropriated to you. Two, you want to know why you committed the hospital beyond what was appropriated to you, and therefore which was not authorized by Parliament. Because all the money that is supposed to be spent under the appropriation account is authorized by Parliament. And any money spent or committed beyond that, it's an offense.
Thank you, Chair and members. As for the cash flow, on page 11, what was received was 1.988, and
when it comes to appropriation, when it comes to statement of financial performance on page 9, it's true the financial performance includes even the domestic areas outstanding which we have not paid. So the question of why we committed government is, as we have explained, the domestic areas for utilities and water supplied to the hospital is unavoidable because we continue to consume electricity and water even after payments have been exhausted. And it's our obligation to declare those expenses. So the figure of performance is against cash receipt is higher, yes, because we included in it outstanding commitments which we did not pay for, but which we had. So the reason why we overcommitted government is, as the accounting officer has explained, that the budget has been small and services are continuing to increase over time.
Honorable.
I think Chair, we need further understanding, because from the auditor's explanation, the utilities only took, actually from the audit explanation, the utilities only took 153.1. But we can see the extra commitment you made is 288. So it can't only be utilities. Maybe we allow them to break down
Accountant, as we
and
proceed,
show us all that has
as we
been.
proceed, keep breaking down. Make a breakdown, and before you leave, you give us a breakdown. Okay, honorable colleagues, we go to pension, wage, and gratuity. You have unspent balance of 611 million. Underutilization of the available funds can be attributed to several factors, including delays in processing payments. Accounting officer, that is 1.31. Payroll management.
Chair, with your permission, let me give it to the principal officers to explain.
And accounting officer, as we do proceed with the administration of that hospital, if there is something that you are passionate about as statutory obligations, issues to do with gratuity, issues to do with pension, that is somebody's rights. Because you will also retire in the future. Just imagine if you are also made to move up and down to access that small money. So on matters of pension, kindly, human resource, do your part in as far as ensuring that people access their pension in time without hassling. But you can respond.
Thank you, Chair. The issue was under absorption. And the response is the unutilized funds relate to staff salaries that was brought about by the delayed recruitment due to delayed clearance from the Ministry of Public Service. Because the clearance came in 6 months into the financial year, and the process now went to the Health Service Commission, and the staff were all appointed. They were appointed in the last month of the financial year, and therefore could not be paid in that very financial year. Some of them even entered into the financial year we are still in, and started being appointed like September. We have positions we appointed in September into this year, but they were meant to be appointed in the last financial year. So it means that wage that was planned for them had to go back.
So what about the pension?
Yeah. On the pension side, there was
the performance wasn't bad, 97%.
Yeah. So you know,
this pensioner which is not paid.
There are pensioners who have died, for example, and they are not supposed to be paid until they process letters of administration. The beneficiaries process that. So the pension that had been planned to be paid to them is not paid until those requirements are met, and in most cases, it takes them a minimum of like 3 months for those ones who are sharp. But also, yes. Yeah, to get letters of administration is not easy for most of the pensioners. Yeah.
But now,
Yes, Honorable Solomon.
see, by performance, you are not bad in this area. 94%, you have someone who do scores. I really give marks right now. But, as a teacher, but my problem with many of these entities, including you, is that the moment you see this money hitting your account, what do you do with public service? Immediately. So that you put 100% in each and every area. That's what we want to know from the human resources, Mr. County Office. What is it you do? Because where you look at the money and say, definitely A, B, C, D, you have to recruit. When you leave this place, we get calls and messages from a number of people. I'm not mentioning specific massacre. They say, no, I applied by every time. I wasn't given a job. But you are seeing there's someone which was swept back, which you have given. Because me, I'm interested in you not having such planes appearing again. But the only way they cannot appear is by giving tendering evidence to the auditors once they arrive. At the moment you saw this money, we wrote to public service to come and do the due diligence for the recruitment. And they don't respond. Because me, what I'm sure of, Madam Chair, many of these ministries, including public service, finance, when you write to them, they don't respond. But also, even you don't write. So who is to blame between them and you? The evidence must be taken by you before the auditors, and you will say, when we give them these letters, we will not be expecting this place to come. I'm tired of seeing every financial.
Honorable colleagues, as we proceed, you just submit the details of the submissions that you made in regard to staffing, because the biggest percentage of your money falls under staffing. But I need to commend this team for performing somehow well on this. The performance is not bad, so for the recruitment, because the biggest percentage falls under salary. And you know the rate of unemployment that we have in this country. You deny your colleagues an opportunity to get employed. So please make sure whenever you have wage, utilize it. So honorable colleagues,
Chair, on the
yes.
same issue. Yes, I appreciate that the money that was budgeted, they will not utilize it because of the rate improvement. But when you look at page 13 of the financial statements, it is clear that 9.14 was budgeted, but you only received 8.5, right? Are you there? On page 13. I want us to go together. Page 13, look at compensation of employees. You had a budget approved budget or revised budget of 9.14, but you received 8.5, right? And that means because of the rate of recruitment, that's why you never receive go to that money, right? Are we together? Close 600 million. Are you there?
Yes.
Now, but when you look at the statement of financial performance, despite receiving 8.5 billion, you paid 8.7 billion. Now, money was not given to you because you had late recruitment. But now you're paying more than what was given to you by committing the institution by 147 million. But further, when you also look at page 11 in the statement of cash flow, the actual cash that was paid for compensation of employees is 8.7 billion. slightly bigger difference, a difference of 144. So the question is, if you get less than partner budget because there was a, you could not recruit in time, then why did you spend beyond what was released to you?
Chair. I think I can respond to that. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Chair, Chair, and members. The statement of application and the statement of performance, the figures are defined because of the classification of in the chart of accounts. Whereas on the statement of appropriation, the compensation to employees is specified for staff salaries. When it comes to the statement of financial performance on page 9, the 8.7 includes other payments to staff, like allowances, medical expenses and others. When you go to...
Wait, don't confuse us. The compensation of employees wherever it appears should have the same, should be the same. Because you have not run away from the matching concept. If they have salaries under compensation of employees, under appropriation, where you have budgeted, it should be the same brought under statement of financial performance. If it's goods and services budgeted under that same constant, should be the same under statement of financial performance. Now, I understand that pension, when you add them together, sit down the social benefits, that's what goes for pension. But when you add them together, that's actually what brings the figure that the audit is quoting. The social benefits is about 2.2 billion, and the compensation salaries is about 8%. So, what you need to explain is that difference. Because if I further ask you that, okay, go the details and show me which allowances that are not included here and where did you capture them? They're not there.
The details are in note 9.
Note 9?
Yes, note 9 is on page 25.
So, these details are there.
So,
On note 9.
Yes, you can see that we have social contributions, 9 billion. We also have wages and salaries.
So those are the details.
I need to check out the details about staff allowances. Because that is where the 8.7 comes from, as wages and staff salaries. And for your information, Honorable.
So let me understand this.
Let me first
No, let me understand this. Let's go to appropriation account page 13. According to explanation, the 8.5 does not include allowances. Where did you budget the allowances? Show us that row.
We have private wing staff,
who get their salaries through the allowances item. So, Ministry of Finance directed that staff who are not recruited centrally, who are paid locally, their allowances their salaries be paid under allowances item.
They show me that item, that row where you have that budget in the appropriation.
Right, I think I need time to get this back now. I will submit to the clerk.
Accountant, you know, the bit of the financials, if there is a fault, you cannot change anything. Yeah? So as we proceed with other issues where you are not relevant, please keep looking through and we see whether you can give this place after giving us the breakdown. These are simple things. These are figures, you can't change anything. So look through and make sure that you give a proper and adequate response. Honorable colleagues, let's go to section 3, report on performance evaluation. Let's go straight to the budget of the ministry received a budget of revised budget of 14.086 billion, and the funds available were 13.221 billion. And we proceed on how they utilize the funds. Yes, Honorable? And let's first handle this, then we shall come back. First look into their budget, because how will they plan when they don't have a budget? So on budget funding, the auditor noted that the hospital received 13.22 billion, and the revised budget was that, representing a performance of 94%. Yes, we note that you had a shortfall of 864 million. You have no control over that. But let's go direct to the utilization of the released funds. You have unutilized funds of 586 million. This was for human capital. Is this still for staff? For staff, it's consequential. Service, delivery of services from implemented activities. The auditor undertook fiscal inspection of 3 activities worth 24. Is this billion? Worth 24 billion. Can it be 24? Hey, you serve a component. True. We have honorable colleagues look at that appendix 1 and see what is there. A non-prioritization of essential projects results in delay of completion of pending and impeding the delivery of critical services such as education and delay. What is the matter? Okay, let's accounting officer explain the delay, this 24.926 million. I'm looking at the matter. I can also explain that the hospital had not received capital government funds. It sounds like the other project. It didn't come out well. So honorable colleagues, that 24 billion goes back to the MCH project, but you can track it further. And these are the utilization of non-current assets, those you can leave. It will come back under. Let's first consider this maintenance of medical equipment. We shall handle that under the item of these steady projects of the MCH and the staff units. Let's go to 3.3, maintenance of medical equipment and ambulances. Utilization and maintenance of medical equipment and ambulances. 3.31, in the last 3 years, you received the 502 million to facilitate that activity. However, number 1, You have idle and non-operational medical equipment. The author noted that equipment, I noted that UPDF supplied you. Is this the oxygen plant? Honorable colleagues, the oxygen plant that is idle, should we go back on this? Non-utilization of the equipment was contributed to lack of funds to repair and maintain the broken down machine. Then lack of operational funds to operationalize the hospital's private wing. Inadequate skilled personnel. Speak to the idle oxygen plant. Because you have two categories, you have the old one, then you have the UPDF one. So, explain, sir.
Chair, as explained earlier, the oxygen plants are 3. The 2 are already in use. That is one supplied by the Ministry of Health, which is now older, and its capacity has dropped considerably from 15 cubic meters per hour to less than 8. Chair, the one for UPDF, as explained earlier, the equipment is not installed. The construction is finished, wiring is done, the equipment on site, but it is not installed.
We requested for documentation in regard to the follow-up, because that is an public. 2 years, some works are complete, but pending installation.
Chair, I think I will get my communications to the ministry about it and submit the plaque, those documents.
But now, officer, somebody can ask, what did you come to do? Because it remained as a question, that means you ought to have moved with whichever document that is at your disposal to convince the committee to drop this page. So if you don't have, from the appendices that you have, is there anything that speaks to these oxygen plants in regard to the follow-up by the accounting officer?
Chair, apparently no. It's not there.
So if no, that is an omission, please do submit. Colleagues, this side accounting officer, when you come to accountability committees where you have a query, your responsibility is to submit the relevant documentation to convince the committee to drop this. Otherwise, when you come with having listed these the responses without documentation, I mean, you leave us with no option than maintaining the query. So please have this submitted. Next week, Tuesday, you liaise with the clerk and have this submitted to through the clerk. Yes, Honorable.
What we're told, the UPDF is very efficient. What's the problem? Because this one here is not again about construction, it's just about connecting installation. What's the problem? What are they saying?
I think they started with Kariba, and they should be Kariba is finished. There must be another stage.
What are they saying in your communication?
On your site.
They always tell me that they are coming to install. They are coming to install. Because this is most.
When was the last time you communicated with them?
We had a meeting, I think, when was the last site meeting? With the radiology? Last month. That was when we had a joint.
If one can practically ask, because what is the percentage performance? What is remaining? Because one would wonder, what is practically remaining? And what does it cost them to come and connect? What is the problem? We are trying to find out. Because connection is connection. What does it take them to connect? Because for me, I would think if it's water, you put a meter and connect to water. So for you, what is the connection and how should you be helped?
Chair, I beg to give you some bit of history about these oxygen plants. I was serving in Moroto during the time of COVID. That is when Ministry of Health saw relevance of the installation of oxygen plants in all regional referral hospitals.
Which was good.
And they saw it fit to take it up as Ministry of Health. So we, as we were on ground, we were just told to identify space where these oxygen plants were to be constructed. the contract and all arrangements between Ministry of Health and the UPDF, the hospital leadership was not involved. So for us, what we've been doing is following up whenever we get an opportunity to discuss with them. But that is the genesis of these oxygen plants. All
because you know there are several activities that are handled by the ministry, procurement is done by the ministry, then they send you a service provider. At the time of sending the service provider, what documentation does that service provider come with? Number two, what is the responsibility of you, the recipient, the receiving entity? What is your responsibility in that contract? Because I believe when it comes to the contract management team, you are somewhere, you are part. You are part. So that's why we expect that during this reporting, you are involved, and I know when the contractor is sent to your place, even they deliver contract documents so that you can able to follow up. If they don't do, then that is a weakness. Honorable, so
you see, Madam Chair, I think Minister of Health hasn't yet come, and the issues dealing with UPDF are under directives, and we have raised a number of complaints, not in health, education, but under directives. I have seen even the doctors were asking the director to liaise with the UPDF, where he has no link between them, him, and them. It is our duty as a committee to have a full evaluation of all UPDF contracts, how they have been run, and the competence they have. But when we tell that doctor to demand from UPDF, tunasema kama nayo, well, whom are you asking UPDF? Construction brigade, these are directives. They are not going through PPDA, and we know the source of the directives. Now we pray that as a committee, we keep our fire until health comes here. But you as the regional fund, have you been writing to the PS, this foundation?
Do they have the access?
With the PS of Health.
Because honorable colleagues, I believe that much as it is assumed to be a directive, but the directive also must have documentation. Because if it's a directive, because I want to understand, it's the ministry that pays still, so they remain with everything. So the person comes, UPDF comes with their materials, for you don't have access to anything. You don't have their documentation. Because when you put this on record, they will come here and they will castigate you for giving false information. So once you are given a contractor, okay, say UPDF came to Masaka, what did they come with?
By then I was not in Masaka. But as I told you, even capital works are from Ministry of Health and UPDF. Even site engineers, those who are monitoring sites. For us, we do like oversight roles. And eyes on, hands off.
They are the beneficiaries. I don't buy the idea of a job and when the gentleman is talking about. I think you're just, we know the situation because it's not about, because it's not the first thing we are hearing about people.
APM Media TV wanwe tukutuusizaako amawulire aga buli kika agafa agawano aga East Africa ne Bunaayira omuli ebyobufuzi entambula n'ebyobulambuzi amawulire ku bulamu bwa bulijjo live stream kwoteeka n'amawulire ag'okwekenneenya ebifa ku lukalu lwaffe n'abatwetoolodde likinga subscribinga leka ne comment yo weekuumire ku APM Media TV ffe tusinga. Get updates on politics, plus travel and lifestyle content, live streams, analysis, and adventures across the region. Subscribe, like, and drop your comment. APM Media TV. Stay tuned.